Hey guys, my name is Madonna.
And I'm Jory.
We're gonna talk with you about word of knowledge. Yay! We're so nervous, by the way. We didn't record the video before. First thing we're gonna talk about, that you need to believe that you have the gift.
Yes, and you don't need people's approval to tell you that you have the gift or not.
Yeah. In a second, we're gonna tell you about the ways God can reveal word of knowledge to you. Like, there's a lot of ways God can tell you, but in the same time, as she said, like, don't limit yourself in one of the ways. Expect anything, God can reveal it to you through something.
And also, it's like 1 Kings 19. It talks about how God says to Elijah that he's going to let him hear his voice. And then it says there's like an earthquake and a wind and a fire, but the voice of the Lord isn't in those things, but it comes after in the still small voice. So I just feel like He wants us to be familiar with His voice, and there's different ways that He speaks to us. So just being open to and available to the Holy Spirit and how He wants to speak to us is important.
The first way we're going to talk about is eyes. So for me, when I look at people's eyes, I can get things that are so easy. Like when I look at people's eyes, sometimes God tells me like they're so patient, or I can see, let's say, they're so kind, or they're so angry. So because the eyes is a lamp of the body, and that's why God can use that way to reveal what's in their heart.
Yeah, another way is through the body, and one of the ways that I hear God is through like feeling pain in my body in a place that I normally don't have pain, like in my leg, in my neck. I don't have pain there, but sometimes when I'm around certain people, I feel it. And also sometimes I feel like a burning sensation or like tingling in that area. And a lot of times if I ask people, hey, do you have pain in your shoulder or your neck? Yeah, I do. And yeah, so God can use that also, like physically feeling things in your body to speak to you.
Yeah, and there's like for Jory, he worked that way. For me, it's kind of different because when I look at people, I don't really feel pain in my body, but I feel like God is highlighting something in their body so I can see the pain. Like, let's say I met Jory, and I don't know why I'm always looking at her knees, but then I will ask myself, like, maybe God want me to tell me that she has pain in her knees. So for me, God highlighting parts of people's body to know, you're gonna see that when you look at people, sometimes your eyes are just drawn to somewhere in their body, but just pay attention to that way so God can use it. There's the second way. The third way is visions.
Yeah, sometimes God can give you whether it's a vision that you see or it's a mental picture. Like I really get mental pictures a lot. Like when I'm talking to someone, maybe I'm be talking to them or looking at them, and I just see this picture in my mind, like they're working here or they're doing this, and that can be also another way that God gives you a word of knowledge, is just by putting that picture in your mind.
The fourth way is, for me, sometimes God using reminding. Like he remind me with that friend who has a problem, and then I just feel like, oh, why God remind me with that friend? Maybe this person who I'm talking with has the same problem. So I will ask that person, do you have that problem? Which God remind me with the other person. And literally, it always got used that way with me. And Jordy will explain it better because I don't know how to say it in English.
Yeah, like God can the Holy Spirit reminds us of things that He's shown us and things He's taught us, but He can also remind us of other situations. Like when I'm talking to Madonna, say I'm asking God for something about her, and I'm reminded of my other friend who maybe she has back pain, or maybe she has a problem with this area of her life, and I'm reminded of that in that situation. So when I'm talking to Madonna, I can say, hey, do you have, is this going on in your life or whatever? And that can be a way that the Holy Spirit speaks also through reminding you. Sometimes you might be talking to someone, and you might not get any words of knowledge until you actually start talking to them. Because there's a verse in the Bible that says when you open your mouth, God will fill it, or don't be afraid about what you're going to say because the Holy Spirit will give you words at the time. So yeah. Sometimes you might not get that word of knowledge until you step out in faith, and then when you start talking, God's going to give you something. Yeah.
There's another way is sometimes like if you went to the person, you already opened the conversation, you're looking at their eyes, you don't get anything, no visions, nothing. So here's what you're gonna do. You're just gonna have faith and you're gonna make things up. And actually, like sometimes people say, "Oh, you're making things up. Like you are like that's not right." But for me, I don't really care about what I'm saying is right or wrong. But I do care about that person will feel God. I'm not talking about to be a false prophet and just like trying to prophesy about things you don't hear it from God. But I'm talking about that, like just opening the conversation when something comes to your mind and you're not sure if it's from you or from God. You will just say it, and somehow God will use it, because I believe that we have the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit always filtering what we're saying, even if we start to do something wrong. So I met the group and I'm talking with them. So I will ask the girl like, "Oh, do you have pain in your knee?" She's gonna say, "No, you're wrong." "Your shoulder?" "No, you're wrong." Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you have a headache." I mean, then she would say, "Oh, how do you know that?" So now I start to open my conversation with anything to just to reveal God for her. That's our heart. Our heart is not to be right or wrong. Our heart is to do whatever to make these people feeling God. So
yeah, I think like sometimes like we can misinterpret what God is saying, but it doesn't mean that now we're making a block to where people can't experience God, because you may misinterpret it, but God can still use that as an opportunity to lead them to an experience, an encounter with God, to where you can share the gospel with them. So I think like what Madonna's saying is like, of course we want to get it right. We want to hear God correctly, but even more than that is that we want people to know Jesus, you know? Mm-hmm. So we're not going to be offended if we get it wrong or if we hear something wrong, but we can still be open to what the Holy Spirit is saying even more when we're wrong.
Last thing we want to tell you is what we are saying, it's opening for your mind to get things from God. That's not the only things which you're going to receive from God. Sometimes, like, let's say God will reveal another way to you to hear him. Like, let's say, I don't know, maybe he will speak literally with a kind of voice, and he gonna tell you word of knowledge about people. So what we're saying is not a formula, it's just a kind of start to get word of knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. Like being aware of his presence and being open to and available to what he wants to say to you about people. It's not, like she said, it's not a formula. It's not like the only way, but just through desiring the gifts and walking in it, like we just want to share what we've learned. So
My name is Madonna.
You need to talk. I'm George.
Oh my god.
What's wrong? It's funny how you should jump. What? So now you're just like, sorry, this is so funny.
You're gonna make it again. Jory, stop.
I'm sorry, I have to calm down.
What were you gonna say in the beginning?
Well.
I forgot. Anyway.
So, stay tuned. Alright, we're cutting. So, stay tuned, because next time we're going to talk about...
Wait, there's something on my eyes.
Did you cover your...
Covered yourself? Okay, 1,
No.
2, 3. Wait.
No way. Are you ready?
1, 2, 3.
So, stay tuned.
Yeah. I'm both
Ready?
like...
I know, right? Oh my gosh, you're not correct. Okay,
Okay.
ready?
1, 2, 3.
So, stay tuned for next time when we talk about getting wrong words of knowledge or misinterpreting what... No, I don't like saying getting wrong words of knowledge. I don't like the way
I think you
sounds.
need to delete that video because we don't want to get more confused.